Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Gardner, certified financial planner, author, and founder of FinLitTech. Thanks for joining us for season 3 of the eMoney podcast that makes sense. Now, if you've joined us for our earlier episodes, we've been talking about financial education and the bigger picture or bigger topic of financial wellness. We've talked about some of the different factors and different elements that go into attaining financial wellness. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about financial wellness as an employee benefit and as a workplace benefit for those of you out there. So if you are working for a company right now and you're receiving an employee benefit that deals with financial wellness, that's great. We're seeing an uptick. We're seeing an evolution. And so our guests today are specialists in that area. And we're really going to be talking about why is financial wellness important in the workplace. So our first guest is Farzin Karim, Head of Financial Wellness and Senior Vice President with Fidelity Investments. Farzin?
Thanks, Mac, for having me here. Hi, everyone. I'm Farzin Karim, and I lead the financial wellness offering and experience for Fidelity Investments. At Fidelity, we help over 35 million people feel more confident in their most important financial goals. And we happen to manage employee benefit programs for over 25,000 businesses. So I feel really privileged, Mac, to have the opportunity to help strengthen and secure the financial well-being for millions of Americans who are on our platform. And on a personal note, my parents and I immigrated to the US from Bangladesh when I was young. And, I had a chance to watch how hard they worked and the sacrifices that they made so that I could have a better financial future. And I was lucky enough to join this industry and join Fidelity early in my life, right after college. And it's not only changed the trajectory for my family, but really future generations to come. So I'm super inspired to talk about this topic here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Our second guest is Ross James. Ross is the Head of Financial Planning at Sentinel Benefits Group. Ross.
Hey, Matt.
Thank you for joining us. Hey, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about your passion, sir.
Will do. So Ross James, I work at Sentinel Benefits and Financial Group. We do a lot of the same things that Farzin does at Fidelity. She may crush me with some of her client statistics there, but we help tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people around the United States and really all over the globe try to get more financially fit. One of the best things about my job is helping people and seeing some of the things that we might be able to give them from a financial planning perspective, improve their lives. So really pumped to be here today and looking forward to the conversation with you both.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, the first point here that I'd like for us to really talk about is we know that, a lot of different benefits are important and that, a lot of employees rely on a vast array of benefits, but is it enough? And how should employers be thinking about benefits beyond the basics? So Farzin, what are your thoughts when it comes to that?
So I think there's a lot to consider. So first and foremost, when we think about employers and why they offer benefits, it's really to ensure that they're able to attract and retain top talent. And, if we thought that the war for talent was fierce before, it's even more fierce now, and it's about to get a lot more competitive. And so with that in mind, it's really important for employers to consider a couple of things. First is, what is the makeup of their workforce? Do they have, for example, a lot of employees who may be struggling with short-term financial challenges? Are they burdened with student debt? Do they have, a high younger generation joining the workforce? And, understanding those varied needs are really important because, for example, they may be an obstacle to achieving better long-term retirement. So, for example, if they have a workforce that is heavy in student debt, employers may want to consider offering student debt repayment programs or student debt refinancing programs. We've seen in the last 18 months in the pandemic that it's impacted different people very disproportionately, for example, women and people of color. And so, as you think about if 1 in 4 women are considering downshifting or stepping away from their careers, and if an employer has a large female population, these are things to consider, because maybe as they think about benefits, they want to consider flexible work schedule or childcare options. And so I think, first and foremost, it's important that employers really understand what their workforce looks like. Based on their workforce, what are the varied needs that different populations have, and how do they make sure that they're thinking about both short-term and longer-term needs and priorities and challenges, frankly, of their workforce. And that goes far beyond just a retirement plan.
Yeah, a lot of folks are saying that COVID-19 has served as an accelerant for a lot of, this workplace evolution and different resources, because, we spend a half of our days at work a lot of times. So Ross, what about you? What do you see in the benefits space that can help folks when it comes to financial wellness?
Yeah. So Farzin, you mentioned recruit and retain. We call them the 3 R's at Sentinel. It's recruit, retain, and retire. Those are the things that I think a lot of employees are looking to their employers to help them with. And when you're looking at your overall employee benefits package, you can't just focus on them in silos anymore. And I mean that by like looking at your 401k, your healthcare plan, and then your other fringe benefits. We think there's a convergence between them all, which we call health and wealth planning. So if employers can really help their employees figure out how to use their 401k effectively, how to use their healthcare plan effectively, how to properly insure themselves, and not just make benefit decisions in silos anymore, and rather think about them collectively, that's going to give the employer a more strategic employee benefits kind of vision moving forward. And then the biggest thing, when you've got a really nice employee benefits package kind of working in tandem, it's going to make it simpler for the employee. That's one of the big things that I think we need to try to do collectively across the United States, is just make the benefits selection period simpler for people. Because a lot of people, they have to make these huge financial decisions often in like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's open enrollment. So if the employer can simplify it, their provider can simplify it, and people can make decisions a little bit easier, I think that's where we want to go.
I could not agree with both of you more on those points. I can't tell you, as a certified financial planner, been fortunate to have been in this business for 20 plus years. And folks will come and ask, okay, what's the difference between, this and that on the health insurance side and HSA versus, you're right. They're like, I've got open enrollment. I've got to make this choice. What do I do? So I totally understand and appreciate that can be important. I've got some great statistics here I want to share with the viewers and listeners when it comes to this need. So in a study last year, 70% of employees said that they need their employer's help to make sure that they are healthy and financially secure. 6 in 10, 62% approximately, say it is the employer's responsibility to do so, right? And then in a separate eMoney survey, nearly half of the respondents said that they would like the employer to offer insight into their entire financial picture, right? And not just retirement. So I think that goes to your point, Ross, about having fewer silos and a more inclusive or more comprehensive view would be good. What are some of the tools employees can offer now when it comes to looking at their finances more broadly, Farzin? What do you see out there?
So, I mean, it's true. Definitely employees are expecting their employers to help them with these needs that cut across a range of categories. So I think a couple of things for employers to consider. First and foremost, it's understanding what are the top financial priorities. And they are a mix of both short and long-term needs. So we did some research to understand in the past year, what are the top needs for the employees. And what we're finding is retirement remains a top need, but in addition, it's paying down debt and saving for emergencies. The second thing we're seeing is that people are going through major life events. So, historically, we've seen that employees might be dealing with maybe one major life event over their lifetime, perhaps is what they had reported. But just in the past year, what we're finding is that within 1 year, employees have experienced not only potentially one major life event, but over 2 and 3 are experiencing, in many cases, more than one life event at the same time. And so if you think about, what we've all been experiencing, whether it's losing a job or loss of a loved one, or caregiving for somebody who's fallen ill in our family, or it could be other things that are surfacing, which are positive things like having babies and getting married. And so the fact is there's a whole host of things that are happening in our employees' lives, and at the end of the day, these are real people with real lives, and life is messy. And so I think as employers are thinking about the benefits and how to address these needs that employees have, the thing to consider is not only are there these varied needs and challenges, but employees aren't actually feeling confident and knowledgeable. And so a big part of what we do is try to focus on how do we ensure that we're thinking about driving better financial behaviors. And we did some research to look at, what are the key drivers of better financial behaviors. And what we learned is that confidence and financial knowledge are actually the top 2 drivers and far outweigh any of the other drivers. And the reason why this is important is because as employers think about how to understand the needs of their workforce, it's also important to address those needs in a way that helps their employees feel more confident, feel more knowledgeable. And the fact is 40% of Americans are doing it on their own right now, and only 1 in 5 say that they're confident about their finances. So I think it's like looking at all of these things collectively to help employees understand their situation. And one of the things we're seeing with our financial wellness program is when we are able to assess the needs of an individual, and we've had over 1 million complete the financial wellness assessment this year, we see that there's a 25 increase in confidence, and they're actually 2 to 3 times more likely to take action. And that's really important for employers to know. So I think putting tools like that in place will help to accelerate their employees' path to financial wellness.
Yeah, I've heard a great message. Competence brings confidence, right? So and that's in anything in life, right? When you get really, really competent about things, you get really confident about doing it. And so I think that'll be helpful. Ross, what about you? Farzin, thank you so much. It's great to hear that Fidelity's working on these tools and that it's impacted so many people. Ross, what are you seeing out there when it comes to tactics or tools?
Yeah, so I love that. I just wrote that down. Competence brings confidence, because it reminds me of a story. Actually, right before we started chatting here today, somebody told me about Boeing. Back in the 1930s, pilots were there were a lot of crashes back then, and a lot of those crashes were stemmed from pilot error. So one of the things Boeing did back in the 1930s was they created a checklist for all their pilots before they got into a plane, so they would take off and fly safely, and crashes went down dramatically. I think that could be applied to financial wellness, to be honest with you, where if you can provide your employees some sort of checklist in terms of how do you get us financially fit, and maybe a small, I would almost call it like a foundational financial wellness plan. We're seeing that happen across a lot of clients we work with, where there's some staggering statistics out there that almost 3/4 of Americans don't have a written financial plan. Yeah. So what if we, because so many people get access to their wealth vehicles, their health vehicles, their insurance vehicles through their employer, what if their employer could start offering them some sort of financial plan, some sort of checklist? So before they get started on their journey, they know what to do. I think that's what a really nice financial wellness program can do.
I like that. Checklists. I did not hear that story before about Boeing. Good to know.
I heard it before.
Back in the 30s, because it's making you feel a lot better about traveling nowadays. But yeah. I think you're right. The tactics are tools, and we're going to talk about how technology can play a role in that a little further in this conversation. But I like the checklist concept. I like the idea of providing resources. in a place where folks are turning to already for so many other things, and then being able to marry that or bridge that with maybe an existing financial resource that they have in their lives. I think that'd be really neat. One of the areas we talk about on this podcast is, the average American, the person out there that's, going to school, getting a good job, good career, doing what they need to do. How is financial wellness and finances, how does what you're doing in your space really speak to the average American out there? Okay, Farzin, you want to grab that one first?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's such an important question, and that's why I'm frankly in this space, to be able to impact the average American. And when we think about just how hard people are working to try to put food on the table, pay their bills, pay for healthcare, there's a lot that people have going on in their life. And so, one of the things that we've done is really conduct a robust study to look at total well-being. And we studied, what causes stress across 4 domains of well-being: financial, health, work, life. And health, includes mental and physical. And what we found is that of the top 10 stressors, 5 were actually financial. And if you look at the top 3, 2 of the top 3 are actually financial. And then on top of that, if you think about the life events that I was talking about, 80% is emotional. And so all of this can be stressful. And I share that because the average American is dealing with all of these emotional, stressful events that may be happening in their life. And so to the extent that we can really get to know folks on a human level, understand what they're dealing with, and help simplify how to put a plan in place, track and monitor progress, and make sure that we're really helping them reduce their stress. And knowing that nearly 30% of employees report that health is being impacted by their financial worries. Like, if we're not looking at people's overall well-being, then I think it'd be a huge miss. So, for the average American, I think those are all things that we need to consider, and just make it easy for them to, put a plan in place that's personalized for them.
Great point, Ross. What are your thoughts about, how financial wellness and, that bridge between psychological and physical and financial with regard to the average American? What are your thoughts on what can be done?
Yeah, I think simplifying things is so important from a financial wellness standpoint. We've got so many things going on in life that if we can just make employee benefits, trying to get as financially fit as possible, a little bit simpler for folks, that's going to be a big one. Those statistics you share, Farzin, are pretty powerful. Some of the ones that I've seen is that almost half of people are stressed out about their financial situation. Large majorities of Americans can barely meet their monthly expenses or credit card debt out there. So if these programs can help these individuals get a little bit more, again, I always call it becoming financially fit. Like, you want to go to the gym and you want to be healthy and physically fit. It goes back to your finances, the same thing. I think there's a connection between this whole health and wealth thing, and there's something to be said about it.
So, Farzin, just piggybacking off of the stats, we have some stats that we dug up as well on our side. It was a Cerulli study, and in that study, it said for the first time in 2019, plan sponsors indicated that financial wellness was a top priority. Why does that matter in the workplace? Like so someone's saying, okay, yeah, why does it matter if you're an employer? Maybe talk a little bit about that. Why does it matter at work?
Sure. So, I go back to if I'm an employer and we have the privilege of working with over 20,000 of them, what we're hearing from our employers is, given the war for talent is so fierce, it is really important to ensure that they're providing the benefits that their employees care about. And, this is a key benefit that employees are concerned about and expecting from their employers. The other thing to consider is employees really trust their employers. When you think about, who do people go to? Employer is one of the areas that they trust most. And so employers really have a huge opportunity to not only provide a benefit that allows them to attract and retain top talent, but there's also links to productivity and reduced absenteeism, higher engagement when the benefits actually match the needs of the employees. And so, in terms of where employers can really make a difference, it's to help their employees plan for all of these needs that we've been talking about. And we know that when people are planning ahead, even if it's by a few months, it can really reduce the stress by over 50% and increase their confidence. And that matters because as employers are thinking about, are their employees maximizing the benefits that are available to them, we see that, through this planning process, the employees are actually able to achieve better outcomes. They have 2.5 times more in emergency savings, 40% less debt, and they're actually saving 70% more in retirement. So huge implications for both the employees as well as the employers is what we're finding.
Yeah, I can only imagine that if you had an employee base that had one less thing to have to worry about in their day, that they could focus that time, that energy into being more efficient within that employer unit. Ross, what's your take on that with regard to why it's important, at work for the employee?
Yeah, well, first of all, in order for people to be successful, I think within these financial wellness programs, the most successful businesses we work with at Sentinel they have champions in their organization that are super passionate, whether it's the HR professional, whether it's the C-suite or whoever's overseeing their employee benefits package. If you've got somebody who's really passionate about helping people within that organization, they can then work with a great provider like Fidelity or Sentinel or whoever it is to then customize it to what their people need. But I totally agree with Farzin in that people are looking to their employer to give them help. And people want to be told what to do when it comes to some of this stuff sometimes because it's so complicated. So if you can put in, a fiduciary or a certified financial planner out there to help somebody make these benefit decisions that's in their best interest, not in the interest of whoever giving the advice, that's huge. But these programs, I think, when they work well, they help to break down barriers, because I think a lot of people think in order to get quality financial help with some of this stuff that you need to be a millionaire or you need to have a lot of money. That couldn't be farther from the truth. So trying to make it more accessible, make sure people are less confused, get rid of the stigmas of being embarrassed about asking these questions, and just make it a safe environment for people to come and ask questions, meet with somebody or talk to HR, whoever's running these benefit programs, because there's so many great people around there. And the best ones, we call them champions at Sentinel, because they're our gateway into helping people. And if you've got a great one at your organization, just somebody who's passionate, you're gonna have a great financial wellness program, no doubt about it.
I love the idea or concept of ownership, right, of these things, and that's going to tie into our wrap-up question. But before we get to the wrap-up question, eMoney, as you know, a leader in the fintech space when it comes to developing, creating technology to help people deal with financial planning, advisors, and the mantra is helping people talk about money. Technology, how is technology in your mind impacting your space, what you do in financial wellness? Farzin, what are you seeing there?
So I think technological innovation is crucial to us being able to better personalize the experiences as we're trying to help employees on their financial wellness journey. So, think about what we've been able to do in terms of helping people save for retirement, making it easier for them to enroll. Things like auto enrollment, auto escalation, vesting, employer contributions, and matching. Those are the kinds of things that provide nudges and can automate, potentially incentivizing participation in traditionally savings plans. And if we apply that same kind of principle to using technology and innovation to trying to instill better discipline and habits in an automated manner for employees to be able to take the right steps to save for an emergency, save for their kids' college education, or save for that unexpected life event, those can have pretty wide impact. And so I think, using technology to help employees set their goals, monitor progress, prioritize, when they have multiple goals, and assess how they're doing, can really not only boost their confidence, but boost their outcomes that they're trying to achieve, so they can live the lives they want.
Yeah, we're working on some cool things like that here at eMoney, just as a FYI for folks that are out there. And interesting you said the word incentive. But Ross, what are your thoughts there on how technology is really going to play a role in this?
Well, I'll give you a plug for incentive. We use that at Sentinel, and technologies like that I think are really helping to break down those barriers and give people access to really nice financial wellness tools. So I think hopefully the technology providers out there continue to advance kind of the cool things that they're doing, whether it's an incentive or a full-blown eMoney site for a wealth management client, but just making sure we can get it in the hands of more and more people. That's going to be great. This makes me sound old, but I can remember paper enrollments. I think some companies still do paper enrollment, which is crazy to me.
Free copy, apply, press hard.
Yeah, that's nuts. So like being able to pick up your phone, seeing all your family's life in one place. Again, I go back to the simplification of all this stuff. The simpler we can make it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, here's the last question. Sorry, Farzin, yes?
Yeah, I was just going to say, also if we think back to this past year and how, our lives have been so dependent on technology and how we've had to adapt, we're also finding that the way that employees want to consume and learn is changing. And so, we're seeing a lot more interest in virtual learning, in on-demand live webinars that allow engagement with the folks that have the expertise. And so when you think about how needs are also changing and how technology can actually help address those needs in a more simple manner, I think the more that we can lean into being digital to help kind of people learn more easily, I think will be a huge win for us.
It's awesome to be living in this innovation age. I say that all the time. We have 3 kids. I have a 14, a 13, and a 6. And the things that they are going to see in their lifetime is just going to be, I think, really awesome, because just in the past 10, 15 years, what we're seeing in our lifetime has been pretty awesome. So, all right, here's the last point I'd like to ask and get your perspectives on. How should employers be talking about financial wellness, and how can they educate their workforce when it comes to that point? Farzin?
Sure. So I think, we have had a history in our industry of using a lot of jargon, of making things, just the terminology we have can be intimidating and can really be overwhelming. And so if you go back to the comment that you made around the average American, to the extent that as employers are speaking with their workforce, they're recognizing that using simpler language is better. Using actual examples that are based on understanding what their employees are going through is going to be more relatable. And so I think, we still have more work to do in our industry to help employers and employees make the complex really simple and easy to understand. So that's kind of one thing. The second thing is, we were talking about the technology innovation, and I had read that we've experienced 10 years of technological advancement just in the past year. And so, thinking about how do you make technology help employers understand and measure, what their employees' needs are, but also, how they're making progress on their financial wellness journeys, who's engaging, what they're engaging on, what goals they have, how they're progressing, I think is important for employers. But then for employees, having simple, easy digital tools, I think is really important, because time is really limited, bandwidth is limited. And so when you match the education with the technology and tools to make it really easy to put, personalized steps in place, provide those and, nudges to take the right steps, it can really make a difference in terms of, employees understanding why it's important, understanding and being able to easily take the right steps to build towards their financial future.
I love it. Educate folks and keep it simple. Ross, what do you think, man? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have this term at Sentinel, and it speaks to what you're talking about, Farzin. Don't talk 401k talk in your 401k meeting. Like, just speak like a regular human being, please. If you ever hear me drop sharp or alpha in a group presentation, just kick me out. Because nobody wants to hear about that. I don't even really know what it means either. It was probably a CFO question that I got wrong. But anyways, absolutely simplify it from an employer communication standpoint. Because again, I think this stuff, makes people get stuck sometimes, and we want these financial wellness programs want to help people get unstuck. I love if the employer can help customize some things. So if you can do some sort of and we see some of our best clients do this, where they'll pull their staff of like, what do you want to learn more about this year? What do you want us to focus in on, and tailor a communication plan around that. Do some benchmarking, I think, is really important, and then offer advice. This is something that plan sponsors need to be very careful of, giving advice, but partnering with somebody that can give advice. But I think that's what a lot of people are looking for is, hey, I got this HSA. Should I do it? Should I do this Roth? Should I do this pre-tax? What fund should I be looking to do? Should I get that disability policy? Hey, I'm retiring and I might have to go on to Medicare. What's COBRA? How do I enroll in Medicare? Like, do I need long-term care insurance? These are the questions people are asking, and they're looking to their employer for the answers.
Yeah, and often they're looking at their employer first, and our industry, sadly, unless you have gobs and gobs of money for an advisor to be able to manage that money and provide some sort of fee, there's no advisor to turn to get that guidance. And so a lot of times, to the points that the both of you all have brought up several times, the employer is the go-to. And so if the employer can be that resource and help and provide that breadth of advice, that breadth of guidance, and have a two-way street. I love that, Ross, about, hey, what do you want to hear? Meet folks where they're at.
Yeah.
Irrespective of where they may be on their financial life cycle journey. I think this could be really powerful. So we could be on this call for a long time. This is an area that's near and dear to me when it comes to financial wellness and helping people make better financial decisions and provide education. But we are coming to an end of our time. Season 3, we've got a new feature. We're calling it the speed round. So 3 questions. I'm going to ask both of you the same questions at the same time, and then hit me with the answer. All right, Farzin, you're up first. What's one thing you wish you knew about money sooner?
I would say you don't have to go it alone. There is a wealth of education, tools, resources available to put a financial plan in place. And to your point, Mac, in terms of, you don't have to pay exorbitant fees to be able to have access to that. But if you can, talk to a planner or an advisor if you do want to partner with somebody, because I think, most are too overwhelmed by the topic and may not engage. And the fact is that you really, there is help out there, and it's a matter of taking advantage of it.
Great. Ross, what's the one thing you wish you knew about money sooner?
Just where to go. I remember graduating and trying to figure out, how from college, what type of credit card should I get? I went to my dad because that's who you would go to. My dad's a great guy, but he's not a financial planner. So maybe just a little more guidance on where to go would be great.
That's a good one. Question 2, Farzin, what's one hope you have for the financial services / fintech industry?
Well, I would say to be more inclusive and empathetic and human, and to use every opportunity like we're doing right now to make every day count. I think, clearly there's a wide range of needs that people have across all life stages. And so the last 18 months really presented what those challenges look like. And so our industry can really make a meaningful and lasting impact on the lives of millions. So I think, making financial wellness accessible to all is really my response there.
All right. Ross, to you, what's one hope you have for the financial services / fintech industry?
break down barriers and misconceptions, and stop focusing just on the 1% rather than 99%, because that's the vast majority of people that need help.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with those 2 points more. Fill in the blank, last one, fill in the blank. Farzin, financial wellness is
something that everyone deserves. I imagine a world where the majority of people are financially well, so and feel confident and secure in their total financial picture. So that's it for me.
Ross, financial wellness is
the path to getting financially fit.
That should be trademarked or registered.
I keep talking about it.
That sounds strong. I like that. All right. Well, look, I'd love to thank Farzin Karim, Senior Vice President, Head of Financial Wellness and Fidelity Investments, and Ross James, Head of Financial Planning at Sentinel Benefits Group. You two have been awesome guests. Look, we know that the journey to financial wellness is a long one. It is a challenging one, and there are a lot of places to go, and there are lots of resources. And we are very thankful that the two of you joined us today to share your thoughts and insights, and the journey continues.